Hi, I'm Justin from Retro Cult Podcast, and it's a little something that I'm going to start doing. I've always done kind of a video add-on to whatever the podcast is, even if the podcast has video with it. But this segment's going to be something I do every week, very similar to what I used to do, but this is called Weekend Rentals. Now, for those of you who are under a certain age, you don't remember a video store and going and renting videos, but that was one of the biggest parts of my entertainment for the weekend, actually for the week, a lot of times, was going and renting movies. And so every week I'm going to go to my little rinky-dink homemade video store, because they don't exist anymore, something me and my son put together, and I'm going to rent some movies involved with that episode. So let's find our rentals. This week on Retro Cult, we're dealing with USA Up All Night. It was just a great show and something I'm really fond of. So that's our topic. So for this week's Weekend Rentals, we're going to go with stuff that could have been seen on USA Up All Night. So that's kind of where my head's at. So I'm going to do the same thing I've done anytime I was in a video store when I was younger. I'm going to go one comedy, one action. So I'm looking for stuff that, I believe Caddyshack was on USA Up All Night, but I'd seen it prior to that. Loved it, but seen it prior to that. There was a lot, they get a lot of slack saying it was bad movies, but there was actually a lot of really good movies on USA Up All Night, and there were a lot of things that I would have probably not seen anywhere else, like Weekend at Bernie's. So that's our first pick. I'm a big action guy, so I know 48 Hours or Another 48 Hours was on there, along with a lot of really good action movies that I really like. But one that I watched a ton, and it's the first time I seen Rambo 3 on TV, that is, was on USA Up All Night. So I'm going to go Rambo 3. I've got my 2 VHS, but when I was a kid, a trip to the video store really wasn't complete without grabbing a game. And even though there's no video games really associated with USA Up All Night, so to speak, I am going to rent a game. I guess, though, if I'm going to go late 80s, early 90s, I'm going to stick with a system more to that time. I guess the obvious would be Rambo, but I'm going to stay in this section of games. And I'm actually going to go with a shooter that is really fun, and I liked. Gradius. Okay, it's late 80s, early 90s. Just got back from the video store. Honorable mention for tonight, I did bring home an NES game. Gradius, just a fun shooter, nothing complicated. I'm not a huge, super gamer. I just like games, especially retro video games. But my son loves them. He's 11, and I don't know how that happened, but so I keep most of these games actually for him. But I picked 2 films you can see, or could have seen, on USA Up All Night. I went with a comedy, Weekend at Bernie's. If you're looking for an in-depth, dramatic story about love and struggle and redemption, this is not it. And I mean, it's not, was it Cheerleader Beach Party or Bikini Car Wash, but it's one of those things you could have got away with watching in front of your parents, even though your parents probably weren't up for USA Up All Night. I am an action fanatic, especially for anything that involves the word ninja or Rambo. So I went with, some would say, the worst or second worst of what's now 5 films. But I always kind of liked it. Rambo 3. It's something I rented a lot. Of course, probably my 3 biggest rentals of all time was Rambo First Blood Part 2, Rad, and American Ninja 2, probably. It definitely would be one of the American Ninjas, but probably American Ninja 2. So that's it this week for Weekend Rentals. Check out Retro Cult Podcast, and this week we're doing the USA Network.